Every year, millions of people fly into Japan. They photograph the neon of Shibuya. They walk the torii gates of Kyoto. They queue for ramen in Osaka. But 350 kilometers south of Tokyo, past the edge of every tourist map, there is a village that most of those visitors will never even hear about. It sits inside a volcano. Not near a volcano, inside one. A double caldera rising straight out of the Pacific, with sheer black cliffs that drop into the sea on every side. No harbor, no airport, no easy way in, and, for a long time in its history, no easy way out. 170 people live there today. They cook their food with steam that rises straight from the earth. They watch the night sky without a single trace of artificial light, and every single one of them lives on top of a volcano that is still officially active. The strange part isn't that a place like this exists in one of the most modern countries on Earth. The strange part is why anyone ever chose to stay. If hidden corners of Japan like this one fascinate you as much as they fascinate me, subscribe, because this is only the first chapter of a much longer journey into the country almost nobody sees. There are two ways to reach Aogashima, and neither of them is simple. You can take a 20-minute helicopter flight from the larger island of Hachijojima on a 9-seat aircraft that only flies when the weather allows it. Or you can take a boat, 2.5 hours across open ocean known for sudden swells, on a ferry that gets canceled more often than it runs. Some months, the boat can't dock for weeks at a time. The island simply becomes unreachable, not because anyone closes it off, but because the ocean decides.
And then, without warning, the clouds part, and you see it. A ring of green cliffs rising nearly straight out of the water, with no beach, no port, nothing that looks like an invitation. This is the outer rim of the volcano. What you can't see yet is what's waiting on the other side of it. Climb the narrow road that spirals up from the tiny boat landing cut directly into the cliff face, and you reach the rim. From there, the island reveals its secret. Aogashima isn't just a volcanic island. It's a volcano within a volcano, an outer caldera more than 1.5 kilometers across, with a second, smaller cone rising from its floor. Locals call it Maruyama. Between the outer wall and the inner cone lies the only flat, livable ground on the entire island, a narrow ring of farmland and forest hemmed in on every side by rock. Stand at the highest point, a ridge called Otonbu, and you can see the entire structure at once. A bowl inside a bowl, green where it can be, black and bare where the ground still steams. Most visitors who make it this far say the same thing. It doesn't look like Japan. It looks like something out of a different world entirely. To understand why anyone lives here, you have to go back more than 2 centuries. In 1780, the volcano at the center of the island began to stir. Tremors, ash, warning signs that the earth was no longer settled. For 5 years, the eruptions continued, growing worse each season. By 1785, it was catastrophic. The eruption killed roughly half the island's population, somewhere between 130 and 140 people, on an island that had never held very many to begin with. The survivors fled to Hachijojima, the larger island to the north, and waited. They waited 50 years.
50 years of exile, hoping the mountain would fall silent for good. And when it finally seemed safe, they did something that still seems almost unbelievable today. They came back. Why would anyone return to a volcano that had just killed half their families? The answer lies in the very thing that made the island dangerous. Volcanic soil, it turns out, is extraordinarily fertile. Sweet potatoes, hardy, reliable, and able to grow almost anywhere, thrived in the island's ash-enriched ground. Fresh water sprang naturally from the rock, a rarity on volcanic islands. The surrounding waters were, and still are, rich with fish. And the very heat that had once destroyed the island became something the returning settlers learned to live with and eventually to use. Walk into the valley called Ikenosawa today, in the shadow of the inner cone, and you'll find something almost nowhere else in Japan. Public steam vents, still warm from the volcano beneath, built directly into a communal cooking hut. Locals bring rice, eggs, sweet potatoes, even whole meals, and simply place them inside. The volcano does the cooking. There is a geothermal sauna a short walk away, heated the exact same way. No gas bill, no electricity bill for the heat, just the mountain doing what it has always done, now put to quiet, everyday use. But daily life on Aogashima asks more of its residents than almost anywhere else in the country. There is one school on the island, a single building that houses elementary, junior high, and high school students together under one roof. Some classes have only a handful of students. Some lessons are taught one-on-one. There is no hospital. A small clinic handles what it can, but anything serious means a helicopter evacuation to Hachijojima, weather permitting.
There's no ATM on the island, no convenience store chain, no supermarket in the way most people would picture one. And roughly 70 of the island's 170 residents aren't lifelong islanders at all. They're government workers, rotated in for a few years at a time to keep the school, the clinic, and the local offices running. Teachers, nurses, administrators. People who arrive knowing they'll eventually leave, living alongside families who have never known anywhere else. Two very different kinds of belonging, sharing the same narrow strip of land inside the same volcano. At its peak in the early 20th century, roughly 750 people called this island home. Today, that number has fallen to around 170, and it keeps shrinking. Like so many remote communities across Japan, Aogashima faces the same quiet crisis. The young leave for the mainland, and fewer return. And yet, what remains has an intensity that's hard to find almost anywhere else. At night, with no city glow for hundreds of kilometers in any direction, the sky over the caldera turns into something most people only see in photographs, a dense, uninterrupted wash of stars, framed by the black silhouette of the crater rim. Astronomers and stargazers make the difficult journey here for exactly this. By day, the island is subtropical and startlingly green. Ferns, camellia trees, and dense brush pushing up right to the edge of bare, steaming volcanic rock. Two climates, two worlds, separated by a few hundred meters of elevation. Here's the part that still unsettles even the people who study it. Aogashima's volcano is not extinct. It is not dormant in any permanent sense. The Japan Meteorological Agency still classifies it as an active Class C volcano, and monitoring stations track every tremor near Maruyama, the inner cone, around the clock. The 1785 eruption is not ancient history in geological terms. It is, quite literally, one eruption ago. So why do people still build homes, raise children, and grow sweet potatoes on the floor of an active caldera? The answer, according to people who have spent time on the island, isn't recklessness. It's something closer to a different relationship with risk altogether. Generations of islanders have learned to read the mountain, the smell of the steam vents, the temperature of the ground, the rhythm of small tremors that are simply part of daily life rather than a warning of anything unusual. The volcano that could destroy the island is the same volcano that heats their food, warms their bathwater, and enriches the soil beneath every crop they grow. They haven't conquered the danger. They've built an entire way of life around coexisting with it. Personally, I find it remarkable that a place like this can still exist in one of the most technologically advanced countries on Earth, a nation of bullet trains and neon megacities, with a village of 170 people quietly cooking dinner over an active volcano, 350 kilometers from Tokyo's tallest skyscraper. There's something almost defiant about it. Not defiance against the volcano, defiance against the idea that a place has to be easy to reach or easy to live in to be worth staying for. The people of Aogashima didn't just survive an eruption 2 centuries ago. They made a choice, generation after generation, to keep choosing this island. Narrow roads, no ATM, weather-canceled ferries, and all.
And perhaps the most astonishing part of the story isn't the volcano at all. It's the return. 50 years after the eruption that killed nearly half the population, when nothing waited for the survivors but bare, scorched ground, they came back anyway and rebuilt an entire community from almost nothing on the same unstable earth that had already taken so much from them. That decision, made over 200 years ago, is the only reason the steam vents in Ikenosawa are cooking anyone's dinner tonight. The Japan Meteorological Agency continues to watch Maruyama. The tremors continue, small and mostly unnoticed. The island continues to shrink, year after year, as it has for a century. Nobody, not the residents, not the volcanologists, can say with certainty what the next chapter of Aogashima's story will be. But for now, on most clear nights, in a bowl-shaped crater bathed in more stars than city, a small group of people are still there, still cooking over the steam, still choosing, quietly, to stay. Aogashima is not the only place in Japan hiding an entire world behind an ordinary name on a map. Somewhere else, on a forgotten island, at the end of a mountain railway line, behind the doors of a shrine almost nobody visits anymore, another story like this one is waiting. The deeper you go into Japan, the more it feels like there are countless hidden worlds still waiting to be found. We're going looking for the next one.